The objective of this mission is the destruction of their ballistic missile capabilities and of their naval capabilities.
Hi again, everybody. It's now 5 o'clock in New York. That happened moments before we came on the air, or while we were on the air. We took it live, and we largely viewed Marco Rubio as the most trustworthy messenger in that moment about why we were in Iran. Not everybody said the same thing, but that's what Marco Rubio said back in March. Marco Rubio, of course, is Donald Trump's Secretary of State. He's also his national security advisor, and he could not have been more clear in his public statements. Quote, "The objective of this mission, the war in Iran, is the destruction of Iran's ballistic missile capabilities," end quote. Well, now, as Donald Trump ramps up his attacks on the free press, on journalists and journalism, accusing them of, quote, virtual treason, it's a quote from Donald Trump, for reporting on the war, yet another one of his stated reasons for starting this deeply unpopular war of choice with Iran officially bites the dust, is no more. Brand new reporting from multiple outlets reveals that Iran's military is far from crippled. After weeks of war, the deaths of 13 U.S. service members, U.S. bases across the Middle East rendered, quote, all but uninhabitable. According to the New York Times, not to mention a devastating blow to U.S. prestige and standing around the world, U.S. intelligence shows that barely a dent has been made in the Iranian regime's capacity to wage war. A U.S. official with knowledge of recent intelligence assessments confirms reporting first released by the New York Times, then the Washington Post, to our colleague David Rode, that, quote, about 70% of Iran's mobile missile launchers remain viable throughout the country. Iran has also retained roughly 70% of its pre-war missile stockpile, which is believed to be comprised of long-range ballistic and short-range cruise missiles. The recent intelligence reports found Iran has restored access to 30 of the 33 missile sites it controls along the Strait of Hormuz, which could be used to target American warships and oil tankers transiting the strategic waterway. These findings directly contradict what Donald Trump and his cabinet have been saying for weeks now.
Their missiles are mostly decimated. They have probably 18, 19%, but not a lot by comparison to what they had.
Their missile launching capability has been substantially degraded.
Their ability to launch missiles and drones is dramatically curtailed.
They have some missiles, but not very many. I think we're in very good shape.
The ceasefire itself looking fragile, Donald Trump himself saying that it is, quote, on life support. The potential remains for a renewed combat phase in this conflict, in which the U.S. military is now in a tough spot. New York Times reports this, quote, the U.S. military has already depleted its stocks of many critical munitions, yet the intelligence suggests that Iran retains considerable military capability, including around the vital Strait of Hormuz. If Trump ordered commanders to launch more strikes or take out or diminish those Iranian capabilities, then the U.S. military would have to dig even deeper into stocks of critical munitions, end quote. U.S. intelligence undercutting one of Donald Trump's goals for the war with Iran is where we start the hour. Retired U.S. Army Brigadier General Steve Anderson is back with us. With me here at the table, senior national security reporter David Rode. Also joining us, Paul Rieckhoff. He's the host of the Independent Americans podcast and the founder and CEO of Independent Veterans of America. David, just take me through the reporting. I mean, this story exploded about, 22 hours ago, first in the New York Times. You've corroborated this reporting and added some context of your own. Just take me through the actual reporting.
This is fantastic journalism. I first want to say this is our job as journalists, is to is our government waging war properly? Are the 50,000 service members risking their lives being served by their leadership? So it was the Washington Post first last week that came out with a 70% of the stockpile of Iran's missile stockpile surviving. That was a surprising number. There were early reports of 30% of it being buried, 30% of it being destroyed.
And the number Trump was using was 18 to 19%.
Yes.
So the Washington Post revelation about 70% seems to stir up reporting about how that's possible, and it's that they shuttered some of the...
Exactly.
Okay, explain that.
So there was a great thing that your team has done a great job. That the issue was that the U.S. only had a certain number of these very expensive bunker buster bombs that would go in hit the underground storage facilities and destroy everything inside them. And instead, they use smaller bombs to just seal those underground storage areas. The Iranians apparently, through the ceasefire, have gone in, dug into those storage areas and pulled out now. And we thought it would be 60%. It's 70% of their missile stockpile. That's shocking. The mobile launchers, these are trucks that move around with the long-range ballistic missiles. That's a big threat to Israel. It's stunning that 70% of those have survived. They must have hid them. And then what you mentioned, the Strait of Hormuz, is amazing. They built 33 of these specialized sites where they could fire on ships into the strait, whether it was U.S. Navy vessels or tankers. They've restored, again, I think they dug them out, 31 of the 33. It's an amazing setback for the U.S. war in Iran.
And militarily, it doesn't suggest that the U.S. military failed. It really speaks more to Iran's preparation for our assault.
It's a strategy failure by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and by the president. It's, again, this belief that air war alone can allow us to win this war, and it can't. And all these expensive bombs and weapon systems aren't enough to, deal with the fact that you don't have troops on the ground, you don't control the ground, so they're going to go back into these facilities and get these weapons. You can't, and I don't want a ground war, but you can't wage war on the cheap. You can't just do it from the air with cruise missiles. You need to threaten your enemy with forces on the ground. And, Paul can speak about this more, but the lesson here is that, just dropping bombs doesn't win wars.
And let me ask you one more question about the journalism, because it has been met with all the journalism about the war in Iran, which Donald Trump seems to be blaming for the low approval ratings for the war itself. Donald Trump put a sticky note that read treason on top of a stack of news clips.
So, again, Paul, I want Paul and the military experts to speak. But look, during the Vietnam War, the press was attacked because they didn't buy the line that the U.S. was going to bomb the Viet Cong back into the Stone Ages. That didn't work. 50,000 Americans died. I spent a lot of time in Afghanistan. Paul and others have spent a lot of time in Iraq and Afghanistan as well. And we had complete air superiority in Afghanistan for 20 years. So, again, this strategy of relying on air power and our amazing weaponry is just wrong, and it's a mistake, and it's soldiers that are paying the price for it.
Your thoughts?
Truth is always the first casualty of war, and we're in a really difficult and unique and dangerous situation where we can't trust the Iranian regime and we can't trust the Trump regime. So we're trying to parse through the middle of that and find out what the facts are on the ground. We're also not hearing from the Iranians for the most part, at least the Iranian people. So I think we're in a really, really challenging situation where we need the president to prove it. And keep in mind, this is his second shot at this. He had the shot before, and now he's taken a shot again, and it looks like he's missed or he's failed to complete one of his many, well, at least 4 objectives. If they're going to take out the nuke threat, then they've got to answer where's the enriched uranium, where are the threats? And if they can't show us, we can't believe them. And that's where we are now. So we're stuck in this place where he's trying to negotiate with China, who is ultimately the big winner this week, right? They're just happy to sit there and watch us punch ourselves out, put 40% of our Navy in the Gulf, have 50,000 troops tied up. And now we're hearing that the Army has to cut training because of their overcommitment to Iran and to the border. This is how we get overextended. And there's no clear off-ramp here. And unless we send boots on the ground, it doesn't look like we will be able to secure these missile sites, which is why no president has done this before. So now we're seeing the limitations of his strategy, the limitations of our isolation, and the dangerous overflow that can happen for the rest of the world. Because ultimately, the barometer here is the strait open? They don't need to have full capacity. They just need to have enough to make going through the strait dangerous, and that puts them into control to have a chokehold over the world's gas station.